Welcome aboard.
你好，静静
I'm Sherry,
and I'm Sarah,
and this is Firefly Fridays.
the shiniest little show in the verse, trying to boost the signal about a new animated Firefly series.
This
Join
week,
us. Go ahead.
this week we are revisiting the episode Bushwhacked.
Yes, yes,
Kind of a little spooky.
definitely. Yeah, yeah. JB, if you would do us the honors, please. We're gonna go ahead and just pop up real quick our little content warning advisory that we like to post. Obviously, Firefly is not a show for younglings, we like to say.
No.
This one in particular, in case you're like me and maybe had watched this episode in a while, there's definitely a bit of gore, some violence, some
disturbing images.
just there you go. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Yeah. But I got to tell you, Sherry, I am like really thrilled that we are doing this revisit, recap discussion of it because I forgot how much I actually enjoyed this episode.
I did too, and somehow when I started my recent rewatch, I missed this one. I skipped from Train Job straight to Shindig. I don't know how
No
I did
way.
that.
Oh,
So it was like
wow.
I started watching it again earlier this week, and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. I forgot about this one.
That's really funny. You did watch it. Yeah, it'd been a long time since I'd watched it, and Gina Torres, actually, in one of my little companion books here, she talks about how what exactly did she say? She said, let me find it here. Let me find the quote. I don't want to misquote Gina. She said there was a lot going on in that episode. It went from being one of our scariest at times to one of our most amusing. And she has a very vivid memory of one of the guest stars, Doug Savant, who played Commander Harkin, having absolutely no idea what to do or how to handle the crew, the cast, because they were just all over the place, being goofy and silly and laughy and telling jokes. And this was only like the official second episode that they
Yeah.
had shot, right?
And Go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
I do want to note that much like the Train Job, the version that they're showing on Hulu and the DVD versions start different.
Interesting.
Where the DVD version starts right into the crew playing their game. This one starts with Shepherd Book giving kind of a little overview about them leaving the Earth it was.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
And telling about how how the alliance was formed and about the war and a little bit and
Yeah, I
how.
did watch it for the first time. Thank you for the reminder. I did watch it on Hulu this time. And I legitimately, that is seriously not something I've ever seen before. On some versions of the DVDs, I have the Malcolm Reynolds intro, which I actually know pretty well. But
Hmm.
this was the first time I'd ever heard the Shepherd book. So I would be really curious. None of my paperwork has the info on that. So I would be really curious if anybody knows, when did they do different versions? When did they start adding them? And, how can they, obviously this is like the streaming version, but is it on a DVD somewhere? Did it only strictly air on the network? I'd be really curious to find the background info on that.
And I was wondering if it aired when it was streaming because they had such a off and on schedule. It was something that Josh put in there to kind of explain what happened in the original
Hmm.
pilot episode.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was something that like was required by the network, right?
Mhm.
If they
And I
wanted him
can
to
see
do
them
that.
leaving it off the DVD because you're probably watching it in order. So you
Hmm.
know what's
Hmm.
going, you know about the Earth it was and everything.
There's been enough references in the episodes, and actually that was one of my in the interview with Tim Minear, that was one of the most interesting bits that I really enjoyed, because he talked about, with this episode coming as close as it did to the train job, that they were still trying to service the plots and the characters, right? And so there was every little scene had another little piece of exposition in it, right? They were trying to reiterate the concept, and he said that this is something that he tends to do on the shows that he writes or directs anyway, but that it was really important in Firefly because they had to do it several times because they were still trying to get the network on board, right?
Mhm.
Fox was not convinced that they wanted to keep this series around, and apparently they really, really hated the whole Western aspect of the show, which I was not aware of, but it was really bizarre. So Tim proposed the idea of, okay, well, let's do one set entirely in space. Like they never even get off the ship. It's all spaceships, right? We just completely eliminate the Western thing. And he was like, let's do something scary, because we just had the kind of funny episode with the train job, which I
Mhm.
find hilarious. He thinks the train job is funny.
It
Like,
has funny moments.
but almost all the episodes do, right? I was
Yes.
like, there's a lot of funny dialogue in Bushwhacked, even though the
Yes.
content and the storyline is horrific. There's a lot of funny moments in this show, and I'd actually forgotten that some of my favorite bits are from this episode. And it's such a bizarre dichotomy to have all of this really horrific, gross stuff going on over here, and all of this really funny dialogue happening. It
Yeah.
was nuts. Yeah.
Okay. Excuse me.
You all right there?
Yeah, just a little. Uh,
Are
oh,
you getting
yeah.
a lot of Oh, that's right. Yeah, we gotta
Blue
review the
shirts.
t-shirts real quick. Go ahead,
Okay.
Sherry. Show off yours.
Mine has my favorite quote from this episode. May have been the losing side, still not convinced it's the wrong one. Um,
Nice. I love it. That is awesome. So mine is a bit of a deep cut. We have got the Fruity Oat Bars logo
uh-huh.
from the bar in the movie Serenities that is full of ones and zeros. It's full of code.
Mm,
And so if you're familiar with it, you know that it activates a certain something in a certain someone because of a certain reason that were introduced in a kind of roundabout way in tonight's episode.
yes.
So mine was a deep cut, but it's connected to the both the villains and to River Song. No,
Mhm.
oops, sorry, River Song. That's a Doctor Who reference. River Tam, River Tam. My bad.
Libertine.
Woo, that was a bit of a Freudian slip there. Excuse me on that one.
So the scene
Hi,
opens.
Chantel.
Hi, Chantel. Glad to have you with us tonight.
Thanks for joining us. I'm glad we made it. The universe seems destined to give us no end of audio and video problems.
Yes,
StreamYard no longer likes us. We got through the pilot, and that's it.
StreamYard does not like my newest headset for some reason, and tried switching laptops, and it kept freezing on me,
Mm-hmm.
which is also my newest laptop. This one seems to work the oldest, and it's with a very old headset too. So We get by.
Yep, it's very apropos for Firefly and Serenity, right? We're
Yep.
scavengers. We're just making it up as we go along.
So anyway, the episode opens and the crew was all playing this game that's kind of like a cross between basketball and I don't know, maybe a little bit of Quidditch because they're trying to get through the hoop or whatever.
It always made me think of it too. Yeah, definitely. We always just call it Spaceball.
Spaceball. And they're having a good time. And River and Simon are up above on the catwalk watching everything.
Hmm.
And
So I got to tell you something real quick while we jump in here.
okay.
When Joss was asked some of your favorite incidents from filming, the first thing that he came up with was one that always comes to mind is the basketball game in Bushwhacked. So he's always been very strict about what I'm writing and what you're allowed to say, and that you have to stick with the script and be very serious. And Tim had written a whole bunch of dialogue for this opening scene. Everybody had lines. He was writing banter and zingers for everybody to say. He had a whole direction scene for it. And then Joss was like, "Well, yeah, but you're just gonna roll film, right?" He's like, "You're just gonna let him go, yeah?" And he said immediately we both knew that there was no way we were going to use a single line that we'd written. So everything that's in this episode was just the actors.
Uh-huh.
And even though they had only been in a couple episodes, they were already so sucked into their characters. They used some of the gags that had been written, like when Kaylee jumps up on top of Jane's shoulders and is running around. But yeah, it's all of that goofiness and the behavior and everything. It's all just the actors, just completely freewheeling it, which I thought was fascinating. And he said he
Yes.
never really had the privilege of such an incredible troupe to be able to come together like that and have such outstanding usable material. So,
Especially so quickly. They
mm-hmm,
hadn't been together that long.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
anyway, they're watching the game, and Anara comes out and she asks Simon how River's doing, and
Mm-hmm.
he says that she has some good days, but she won't talk about what happened at the academy, but
Right.
she has nightmares about it, and he's really worried about whether or not he can help her. And Anara assures him that he has. I mean, just by leaving his whole world behind, that was a lot to give up.
Yeah. This is
To
where we
help.
get a lot of the exposition, right, about what happened and the background between Simon and River. So yeah, that's definitely this little piece, but it works out well between Simon and Anara and their sort of interaction. Yeah.
And then an alarm goes off, the proximity alarm, and they're all just like kind of stunned or whatever. And Wash, being the jokester that he
The
is
goofball.
like, "Oh no, what will we do? Who's flying this thing? Oh, that would be me. Off to work we go."
Back to work. Gotta go back to work. Yep, gotta go back to work. Love it. Love it. Yeah. Wash reminds me a lot of my husband, who happens to be producing tonight. So that should give you an idea about who's in the pilot's chair here tonight. So yeah.
So anyway, this leaves them short, and Kaylee tries to get Simon to join them.
Hmm.
And we head back up to where enters the cockpit,
Yep. On the
and
bridge. Yep.
yeah, he sees a spinning ship out the window.
Now Wash and Zoe. Yep.
Mhm. Then
They all head up there.
the body
Blam.
slams against the windows and that's when you hear the whole ship rocks. Everybody feels it, and
First
that's
jump
when
scare of the episode. Yep.
everybody runs up to the cockpit, and Wash says he's not getting any answer when he hails the ship,
Hmm.
and Mouse
Kaylee
and
makes a comment on how it's not spinning right.
hmm
Yep.
that one of their port things is off or whatever, and Mouse says bring him closer, and Simon asks what is it, and then the camera moves in on River, who's standing right outside the door, and she
Yeah.
whispers, "It's a ghost."
Ghosts. That's what it is. It's ghosts. Yeah. And then, of course, that cuts, right? It's that scene.
Hmm.
And it goes into the intro. And then we come back and everybody's standing around. Yeah, it's definitely setting the spooky atmosphere for the episode at this point, right? And now everybody's standing around looking outside the window at this crazy thing that's spinning. You know, we've got Kaylee there, we've got Book, we've got Jane. Everybody's come up on board to peer out the window and
Uh-huh.
try to figure out what's going on with this crazy floating ship out there, right? And everybody's got um, something to talk about, right? You know, Book wants to know, shouldn't we be reporting this to the Alliance, right?
Oh, okay.
Oh, that'd be fun. Oh, that'd
Uh-huh.
be fun. That would be really good. Yep.
Have
And
everybody.
Jade is over there talking about, you know, making some horrible comment about, oh, that guy, he killed everybody over there. You know, just everybody's
Mhm.
got their bits going on back and forth,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Um,
And they figured out that it's just like a short-range cargo ship that has been
mhm.
retrofitted to carry
Settlers.
passengers. That
Yep.
it was probably picked up really cheap at an auction. They fixed it up some. It was good enough for a one-way trip to
To
go
the Outer
out
Rim.
the outer rim.
Hmm.
And
Unfortunately, as Anara very, very disturbingly points out, families. They could carry anywhere between 15 and 20 families on a ship that size. So at this point, everybody's like, okay, well, we got to go figure out what's going on over there. You know, their communications get
uh-huh,
out, they could be stranded, there could be a problem. So we decide that we're going to go
uh-huh.
on an EV walk. We're going to go outside. We're going to go outside the
Yeah.
ship.
And Book, he's like, shouldn't they report it? And Mal was like, to who? The Alliance? They're going to run right out here to check to make sure those taxpayers are okay.
Right.
Um, and Jane's questioning, if they need help, why isn't there a distress call? And they decide that no one's probably looking for them. And Book says, well, that's all the more reason for us to go check it out to make sure everything's
Mm-hmm.
okay. Um, and Mal says, you're all right. It wouldn't hurt to see if anything's left behind. And as they dock with the ship, and this is something I catched like on my initial viewing of this, is we
Mm-hmm.
see these
We're watching the
tentacles.
ship's dock from the outside
That's
camera
right.
angle.
And we see these tentacles reach out from the ship and attach itself to Serenity.
And it does one of Serenity or one of Firefly's signature moves, which is the camera kind of zooms in and then it has to readjust its focus like it's an actual real camera. Yeah,
Yeah.
and as it's refocusing, you see these weird little tentacles pop out. And then the next scene that comes in, we discover Simon has a fear of spacewalking. He's
Uh-huh.
overthinking things and being a little
Yeah.
too analytical, which is something that my
Yeah.
oldest son suffers from,
Hmm.
thinking
Yeah.
just a
Because
little bit of mylar and fabric is the only thing separating you from a whole lot of nothing out there, and
hmm
does not like the idea of trying it out.
uh-huh. Yeah. Because Simon appears in the cargo bay, with his med kit, and we see Mal and Zoe getting in the spacesuits. And I want to talk a little, just a quick
Hmm. I do
thing
too. Yeah.
about the spacesuits.
Yes.
Shauna Trippick, who
Hmm.
is the costume designer, bless her soul, um,
Yes.
also did the Mandalorian costumes. She said that we couldn't afford to make our own spacesuits. So
Yes.
Josh said, we're scavengers anyway, so
Hmm.
just scavenge them from a couple of different shows. But she did design their helmets to make them look a little different. So
Yes.
these spacesuits, and there was only two of them that they could get,
At
came
the
from
time, yeah.
yeah, came from Global Effects, and they were originally created for a Kurt Russell movie called Soldier.
Soldier. Hmm.
Uh-huh.
Yep.
And they are a variant of an S-10 high altitude flight suit.
Yep.
So is that something JB might be familiar with?
I don't believe so, JB. Let me know. I don't think your planes would go high altitude, right?
He can let us
Is
know
he
in the
there?
comments.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not my cup of tea, but I'm thinking probably U2s or some of the other high altitude
Okay. Yeah,
platforms
that's a
that have it.
specified.
I
Yeah.
can picture it in my head. Yep, but lucky for me, no, because
Mhm.
we don't survive very well out there.
No,
No.
no. JB's much more of a Serenity kind of thing. He goes in and out of Atmo. He's more of a ground plane. Yeah, they didn't go up into the stratosphere. A fact of which I am very grateful, honestly. If we're gonna be, yep.
Oh, I know. I read the right stuff. I know how dangerous that call can be.
Exactly. Yeah, so this is fantastic. They painted them all different colors, tried to make them look worn, coming from a bunch of different places, like they hobbled them together. Jane had a slightly different specific spacesuit. His was more yellow golden in color
Uh-huh.
rather than the brown and orange.
And it was
Yeah.
made for Dolph Lundgren originally.
Yeah, because apparently they're close in size. Yep, that was
I didn't
originally for him.
realize that he was that big.
Yeah, yeah, he's a big dude. Nathan Fillion's a tall guy, and Jane is, bigger than him.
Yeah. Okay. So
Alright.
we are back, and we see Zoe and Mal enter the airlock and go into the. I keep calling it the ghost ship. To me, it's
Yes.
the ghost ship.
I think that's a good name for it.
Mhm. And it's spooky. I mean, one of the first things you see is some children's toys, a tricycle, laying
Yep.
on, laying on the ground.
The door opens, it's dark, but there's emergency lighting, right? And so we immediately get like this haunted house feel. There's like abandoned things. The backup generator is on, right? And so yeah,
the red balloon just hanging in the air. To me, that was just
bizarre.
like,
yeah.
Run.
As Jason said, ignore River's comment at your peril, right? Like nobody's paying attention to the girl. You really, really should have listened. Yep, exactly.
And they find there's food trays on the table that looks just like everything they left in a hurry or whatever.
Right, like everything was left on. The ship powered down on its own, so this was not like a controlled exit, right? And Joss Whedon said that they actually used real rotting food for this episode. Yeah, and he said between like that and like the basketball scene where everybody was sweating, he was like, that was a terrible set to be on. He's like, it was nasty. He's like, it was so gross. It was really smelly. Really smelly and gaggy. But he did say that this was definitely an underrated episode, he felt. They were really trying to show how, in multiple aspects, how creepy it could be out in space, right? Just how bad it could be, because you've got the one side, this really super scary, terrifying, enemy out there, and then on the other side, you have this hyper antiseptic, annoying bureaucracy, and you're kind of stuck in the middle, right? Like they're equally terrifying, and you're equally in as much trouble from both of them. And in this particular episode, they come crashing together in a head. So that was something that I really appreciated on this particular go round, on this particular rewatch. So
Zoe and Mal are looking around, and Zoe comes across a computer screen, and she says, somebody was in the middle of writing a log. And then the screen goes,
should I turn it on? Should I turn it on? And they do.
And the screen goes to static. And then it switches at the same time. River wakes up screaming, gasping and crying. And Simon's trying to comfort her, and she says she can't sleep. There's too much screaming. He says, there's nobody screaming. And she goes, there was.
There was, right? And so it keeps jumping back and forth between the two of them, right? So we're building that tension. And this is kind of the part where I start to nope out. Of like, my stomach starts getting nauseous, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what's going on here, but it's not going to be good.
But we're seeing that a lot in this episode, where it keeps jumping back and forth between different places. And I mean, you get like, 10 seconds here, 10 seconds there, back and forth, back and forth.
Yeah, really intense editing in this episode, from all multi-camera angles everywhere. And I was very impressed with it, watching it, the way that it flipped back and forth, and how sometimes the camera was so shaky, and it was by design so that you couldn't really tell what was going on. It was kind of like the shark in Jaws, where what you couldn't see was more terrifying than actually having a clear picture of what was going on. So I really not enjoyed, but it was a very effective technique in this episode.
Kind of reminded me of going through a real haunted house. I mean, because lights are flickering and everything, and
you can't see what's around the next corner, and you don't know where to look. And so then Jane shows back up and tells Simon, hey, You're needed over here. Come on, let's go. You're needed over there. And he's like, did they find survivors? He's like, I don't know. Suit up. Let's go. I'm not waiting around for you. Come on, move, move, move. Let's go, let's go. And so, of course, Simon is trying to control his anxiety. Looks like the poor guy's about ready to have a heart attack.
Uh-huh.
The
So
scene, the camera cuts to the doors opening, and Simon's got his suit on, and he's got his bag, and he's walking with
moving
the
real
flashlight.
cautious, real, you can tell he's terrified, not sure what he's going to find. And
the helmet's fogging up,
Uh-huh.
he's all nervous.
He turns a corner into a room, and there's everybody else not suited up.
Not standing around just fine in a suit, and Mal's like,
Hi,
what you do?
Gwen. And Jane starts laughing his head off. I mean,
Yep. Lovely little
just
hazing
funny.
joke going on, right? And Mal's like,
And
seriously?
Simon goes, "You're hilarious."
Yeah, we ain't got time for these games, right? Whatever, and he's like, okay, so as long as you're here, give us a hand, right? You and Kaylee go.
Go
Jane,
back
you
to
go.
the engine room, see if there's parts you can, gather up and, all get out.
Jane goes to the galley. Mal and Zoe go to the cargo hold, right? And as they're leaving the room, Kaylee tells Simon he didn't have the helmet on right anyway. The helmet wasn't sealed properly. So if he'd been telling the truth, you'd have been toast. Yeah.
Yeah. So Zoe, says from the log it shows there was 16 families, and even though it says a lifeboat was launched about a week ago, she says that lifeboat would only hold about a third of that.
A fraction of them. Yeah,
Just a
exactly.
fraction.
And Mal's like, I know, like both of them, they're just starting to read the situation and they're like, something's not right here. This isn't adding up. Wash is back on Serenity and he's digging through the archives and he's found a diagram, schematics, of all the diagrams and specs at home. And he's trying to tell them exactly where to go to find this. And so they're moving as quick as they can and he's given directions. So he's on the comms.
Looking for a secure cargo hold. Meanwhile, Anera is gone looking for River to check on her and see if she wants anything to eat. And she opens
room's empty.
The room's empty. And then we
Oh,
cut
River.
to River, entering the ghost ship. And we just see her walking across.
Yep. Mal and Zoe come across the cargo. They find a locked hold. This is where it starts jumping around a lot, And so they're there and they found it. And they're like, this is it. It's locked. That's a good sign.
You also see Jane. He's in the gallery and he's just grabbing handfuls of
handful
all
of
the food
spoons,
stuff.
Why,
stuff,
yes,
stuff in his
Dave,
bag
well
as fast as he
done.
can.
Well done. You caught me hawking the truck. Yes. That's one of Jason's favorite episodes. Yeah. Worf's adoptive parents show up on the Enterprise. So, yeah.
So, they found the car. Zoe and Mal find the cargo hold and it's locked. So Mal says, that's a pretty good sign. So he pulls out his torch and starts, going around to blast.
And Simon and Kaylee are in the engine room and she's like, well, there's nothing wrong with this ship mechanically, until she starts yanking parts off of it, right? But she's like, near as I can tell, it's not like they had engine trouble. Like nothing here is wrong or broken. Jane's tearing the place apart.
And they finally, Zoe and Mal get into that cargo hold, and you see Zoe come across a carton filled with children's toys, a doll.
Yeah, she's opening all these private, personal things, journals, clothes, and then Mal hits the mother load, right? Gen seed, protein, crop supplements, everything a growing family needs for a fresh start on a new world. Hard subsidies for 14 plus families, and it's worth a fortune.
Quite a bit.
And as Zoe says, even on a lifeboat, they would have taken something with them, right?
Yes.
And Mal looks past her and says, nobody escaped.
Yeah. And then River appears in the cargo hold where they are, and she's looking up.
And Zoe and Mal turn to look at her, and they all look up. And Mal says,
I know what did this.
Nobody's left. Yep.
And you look up, and I don't know if we see them yet. Yeah.
Just a quick flash.
Just a quick flash, but Mal tells Zoe, get River and get off of here.
Yep.
And he calls Jane.
Gendo May. Just our luck. Yep.
He says, get Simon and Kaylee off the boat and don't ask me any questions.
Yeah.
Um,
And then he says, get the doctor off this. And then he's calling Jane, right? He's like, Jane,
yes,
are you there? Jane, are you answering?
there
And then we cut back to
to
the
the galley
galley.
where Jane is, and someone jumps out,
Quick
attacks
camera
Jane,
cut, flash
quick
of light.
you can hardly tell, and you hear a gunshot.
Yep. And then Wash is freaking out. Wash is calling in. He's like, Captain, Zoe, what's because he can hear, right? But nobody's
Yes.
talking to him, yeah? And so
Yeah.
Zoe's like, they're coming from above. Mal's like, let's go. He's giving orders. You can hear Wash in the background going, hello, somebody, anybody? And Zoe's response is, not now, dear.
And that Simon sees that River's there, and he's like, why is she here? And she goes,
What are you doing here? She said,
I followed the voices.
mm-hmm.
And he tells her never leave the ship. And Mal says,
the ship. Yep.
handle her. And Wash is still wanting to go on. And Zoe finally says, not now, dear.
Mm-hmm. So we have a super tense moment where Mal and Zoe show up in the gallery to find Jane. They almost shoot each other. Typical Western, you're in the dark, typical horror movie, you almost shoot each other. And Mal's like, what did you see? What happened? What is he? He's like, I don't know. It was too dark. I couldn't see. It was big, though. It was terrible. I think I might have shot him, And Simon says, you did. And they're all looking down, and there's a trail of blood. Now that they have the lights back on, there's a trail of blood leading to a hidden compartment in the back of the galley, right?
Kind of like a vent area.
Yeah,
there's like
yeah.
a big fan over it.
Mm-hmm.
And,
so Mal makes his way over there, and we can hear whimpering coming from inside, right? And
Mal
he
pulls
takes all the thing. He goes in to try to get him off, and he's like, no, mercy, no, mercy, And Mal's like, it's okay, nobody's gonna hurt you. And he's like, well, not any more than we already have. Sorry, we shot you, apologies or whatever. And he's like, oh, we got mercy, we got lots and lots of mercy.
And then Mal punches him.
Decks him out cold. Like, this is just too much effort to deal with this guy. I'm just gonna clock him out, and we're gonna have to take him back to the infirmary, right?
And Simon, looks down at him and turns.
Mal pulls him out, and he's this poor, malnourished, scrawny guy.
Wow, he's a real beast. No wonder you were worried. And Jane was like, he looked bigger when I
couldn't see him. We use that line all the time. Usually when I'm like terrified about a bug or a spider or something, and I call screaming for help, and one of my kids or my husband is like, really? This little tiny thing? And I'm like, looked bigger when I couldn't see it. Sorry. Yeah. So now it's all grim, and it's pretty yucky.
Yeah, they're back on the boat, and Simon's in.
Half of them are in the
med bay, infirmary, back and
the
forth.
infirmary. The infirmary, yeah. So half of them are in the infirmary, and half of them are in the common area. We've got Inara and Kaylee and Jane in the common area, and then we have Simon and Mal and the survivor in the infirmary, and they're trying to check him out and trying to see, contradictions. That is a really good way to put that about Firefly. Yeah. There are a lot of those.
And Kaylee says, he must be some kind of hero to survive all that. And, Jane was like, he's the killer. And Kaylee doesn't believe that and kind of looks around at everybody else, but no one seems to agree with her. And Zoe says, Captain wouldn't have brought him on board if he thought that. Yeah. So we're back in the infirmary, and,
Simon says, other than the bullet wound and the crack on the head that you gave him, he seems okay, a bit malnourished, high blood pressure, high heart rate, kind of thing.
But you'd expect that. And, but the survivor keeps, going back and forth and saying that they were weak and they were like cattle being led to the slaughter.
And at that point, Mal says, dope him.
Yep.
Drug him. And Simon doesn't seem to think that's a good idea. And Mal's like, I don't care. Just do it.
And as he starts to inject him, the survivor grabs Simon's arm and tells him, open me up, see what's inside. And then he repeats, no mercy, as he drifts off. Simon and Mal came out of the...
they got to have a talk with the crew.
And, says, aside from the malnutrition, he's in pretty good health. So he'll live then, says Book. Not such a good thing, says Mal. Not quite that word, but...
To my mind, it's unfortunate.
Yes.
Yep. And Book thinks that's rather uncharitable.
And Mal says Charity would be putting a bullet through his brain.
Yep. And so everybody's a little shocked. Anara's shocked, Book is shocked, Simon is shocked, and Mal's like, "Listen, it would save him the suffering of what he's been through."
And he closes the doors to the infirmary and says, "No one is more to go in there. There's nothing more we can do for him after what he's seen." Simon asks him what he means, and Mal says the ship was hit by reavers.
Jane,
everyone is just like shocked,
flips out.
Jane,
Yep.
Who is really a big baby about reavers and everything.
I think that means something. This big of a tough guy who's got an attitude about everything and isn't scared of going into any situation turns into a puddle of goo, puddle of piss, as he likes to say. When it comes to reavers, they've got to be some pretty scary things in order to frighten somebody like Jane. Yeah. So everybody's back in the dining room, and everybody wants to know. That's quite a statement, right?
Yeah. How does Mal know? And Jane's like, "Oh, he don't. It was that other fellow that we ran into the ship. Like I said, he killed the others, went stir crazy, and then took a walk in space." Couldn't be reavers.
Wasn't reavers. Reavers don't leave survivors.
Mal says, strictly speaking, they didn't. And Book argues that whatever he saw was done by men, nothing more. Jane tells him reavers
ain't men.
Ain't men. Maybe far from civilization, but they're still men, says Book. He believes there is a power greater than men, a power that heals. Mal says that reavers might take issue with that philosophy if they had
they had a philosophy. Exactly.
And they weren't too busy gnawing on your insides. And he agrees with Jane that reavers ain't men.
Or they forgot how to be, right? They're just nothing. They got to the edge of the galaxy, to that place of nothing, and that's what they became. And Jane's like, "Why are we still sitting here, waxing poetical? What are we doing?" And Wash is like, "I want to know that too." And then Mal says, so they start having this whole conversation about there's still substantial money to be made here. Simon and Book and Kaylee are like, we got to, see about putting these people to rest. And Mal's like, "I don't like that idea. We got to get going. Let's get out of here." And Book makes the point that how we treat our dead is part of what separates us from the savages. And so and what I love about this is how quiet Zoe is. She's like, she makes a snark at Jane about quit your blubbering, you'll scare the women. But she's just watching the situation here, right? Like Mal's doing a whole thing and everybody's pushing back and he's arguing. And then finally he's like, "All right, go say your words. Jane, you help the doctor, Shepherd, Book, Anara, Kaylee, go do your thing," right?
Yeah.
And so everybody's real surprised, right? Like Jane's like, "You got to be kidding me." And Anara is just like, "Oh, just when I think I have you figured out, what's going on here?" Right? And and so everybody leaves and Wash is looking at him going, "I didn't think you were one for rituals and such." And he's like, "I'm not, but it's going to keep the others busy."
And Kaylee also tells him, "That was real pretty what you said."
Yeah, like what's going on here? Everybody's all impressed and he's like, "I need to keep them busy," right? They don't need to be a part of what's coming next.
Part of where we're seeing that as tough as Mal may seem on the outside, he does have a little bit of softness in there that he lets out every now and then.
Well, and that he's got to read on the situation, right? Like he has an ulterior motive. He knows something uncomfortable and ugly needs to be done, and Zoe's picking up on it. And he lets them lead him along by the nose, being the grumpy captain, just long enough to be like, "All right, everybody get the hell out of here." And then we have Kaylee, Mal, Wash, and Zoe up in the cockpit. And this is one of those scenes that I swear it's my husband sitting in that chair instead of Wash. His expressions, the way that he talks, his reaction to it had me in absolute tears. I was laughing so hard rewatching this scene. It was hysterical because then after everybody leaves, it cuts to an image on this, on Serenity's screen that shows the tentacles that we had talked about earlier attached to it. And Mal says one of my favorite lines, which is, "It's a real burden being right so often. Gosh, it's just terrible when I'm right all the time." And then it cuts to Wash's face and he's like, "What is that?" Like he's just horrified and like offended. Like, what is this thing that is stuck on my ship? And Mal and Kaylee are like, "Oh yeah, it's a trap. It's a trap. Reavers set these for people, right?" Yeah. They leave them behind. Trigger when we latch on, and Wash goes, and if we try to detach, and I was like, "It blows." And Wash is just like his face. He's like, "Okay, so don't detach. We just sit here until the Reavers come back. And
Uh-huh.
it's hysterical.
And then,
Kaylee's like, oh yeah, I think I could fix this. I think I could do that. And Mal's like, really, little Kaylee? You be honest with me. Do you actually think you could do this? And she's like, yeah, if I could get in there and find the gobbledygook line, that the whatever, the whatever, the whatever. And
uh-huh.
she's like, yeah, I think we could do that. I think we can handle it. And he's like,
And
are you sure? And she says, well, if I'm not wrong, or if I'm wrong, if I'm not right, it's not like we're going to be around for you to yell at me. And the look on Wash's face, he's like, he just does not even know how to parse that. It is just, that is one of my favorite scenes with Alan Tudyk. His body reactions, his facial expressions, the way he says his lines, it was just peak Wash right there.
and now we come across a bunch of scenes where they're jumping back and forth between a lot of things, and there's no
This is what I wrote. I called it the death montage, right?
dialogue.
Because we've got Book praying, we've got Inara writing out her scripts and her prayers, we've got Kaylee crawling through the crawl space, and this is where the music kicks in. And I was like, oh, this is it. This is the part that I hate, because it sounds so much like the theme from Silence of the Lambs. Like it gives me goosebumps, and I start getting twitchy, and I'm like, oh, it's horrible. So they're lowering this horrible
Massive bodies.
it's like hanging from a chain on the ceiling of the cargo hold of the ghost ship, and they're lowering it down, and it never stays very long on any one image, right? The beat is just constantly hopping around,
back and forth.
And this montage is just, and of course then it's also punctuated by crashes and River screaming and crying, and it is the most like ghastly montage of images that are happening and going back and forth. So
you've got River, and she's in Inara's shuttle, where Inara can keep an eye on her, but she's like tossing and turning in her sleep and everything. And they switch to the survivor in the infirmary, and he's tossing and turning,
laughing, like sort of like crying in his sleep,
and then all of a sudden he jerks awake, and at the same time River jerks awake, whimpering, and Inara tries to comfort her, and meanwhile in the infirmary, trays are being knocked over in the med base. River is screaming, and you see the survivor pick up a scalpel.
But just the hand, like that's all you see is just a hand grabbing it, right? And this is interlaced with bodies being laid out and tarps being covered, and I mean, it just one of the creepiest scenes of television, when there's really not anything all that scary going on, right? Like it's not. There's some truly horrifying movies and TV shows out there, so there's not really all that much going on, but it just is absolutely
the way it
terrifying,
jumps back and forth and everything. And you see Jane, he's stacking up the provisions, and he's heading back to Serenity.
He's dragging them back. Yep.
And Simon is watching, and then you see Kaylee snip a wire, and this black liquid ooze
comes out,
and we see the tentacles release, and Kaylee smiles in relief. And Jane arrives back on Serenity just as Mal, Zoe, Wash, and Kaylee are closing.
They're all standing around looking a little guilty. He's like,
they're closing
what's going on?
The air, and
what's happening?
And Mal says, at this particular moment, not a thing. Thought we might have a situation, but got it taken care of. And he's like, get that merch put away, as Mal closes the cargo bay doors.
Yep. Wash, everybody's home. Let's go. We're all going to have a happy ending. And then
we see Serenity break away, and then that proximity
alert goes off. And we get Jane go, no, don't you say it. It's the Reavers. The Gorian Reavers have come back.
Mal says, get that stuff stored away, and he and Zoe head to the cockpit.
Jane goes, like it's gonna matter.
And as Mal enters, you hear a voice over the speaker that tell them to release control of the helm, prepare to be docked and boarded, and we see an Alliance cruiser outside.
One of the great big Dortmunder things.
It is the IAV Cronenberg.
Cronenberg, that's right.
And the commander...
For Act 3, the start of Act 3, we cut to the interior of the Alliance ship, right?
Yes. And you see the commander standing there, and he's like, He noticed that there's no mandatory registration markings on the bow. Make
Hmm.
sure they are cited for that. And one of the crew tells him that they
The ensign.
have identified the ship that Serenity was docked to, and it
Hmm.
was a transport ship licensed to families out of Bernadette
Yep.
that were due to touch down in Newhall 3 weeks ago, but never made
Never
it.
made it.
hmm The commander
Said
said,
continue hailing them. Once we secure the vultures, we'll check it out. Yeah.
and one of the communications officers asked if they had recently had a flag on a Firefly a while back. And the
Hmm.
commander says check on it, and sure enough, a flag comes back that a Firefly class might
The
be
hands of blue guys. Yep.
two
They put a warrant
fugitives,
out. Yep.
a brother and sister. And the commander says, "What are they wanted for?" And it's classified. And the commander,
40,000 of these old wrecks in the air, and that's all they give us. 40,000 fireflies in the air. Wow.
yeah, and he says, "Well, if we run into this too, we shoot first. Brass can sort it out."
Sort it out later. Yep. All right. So
All right.
they're coming pell-mell back out of the bridge, back down to the cargo thing. Jay's like, well, is a reverse? And Mal's like, open up the stash, pull out the goods. Right out here in plain sight. Let's go, let's go, let's go. He starts barking orders, right? And Jane's arguing with him. And why for? And Simon's like, don't you dare. And he's like, it's Alliance. Let's go, let's go, let's go. I'm not going to argue about this. Let's move it. It's a lot of fast back and forth. Zoe watching Kaylee appear. They don't understand what's happening. Simon goes, we have to run, we have to run. And Mal said, can't run. It's too late. Simon's like, we got to get out of here.
And he said,
Mal says, stack everything right here, right in front. All the stolen goods right here in the middle.
River will be tortured if they are caught. He would never see her again.
Is that why you kept us on board? So you could use this as bargaining chips, right? So this is where Simon's brain is going. He's spiraling, right?
Thinking, he's being turned in and everything. And Book tells Simon, you best do what Mal
Don't
says.
be a fool. Don't be a fool, right? Yep. And then whoosh, all of a sudden it cuts to the airlock door opens and in comes Commander Harkin and all of his troops. And we see all the stuff standing there and we see the whole crew.
Minus Simon.
Except Simon and Kaylee. Or Simon and River. Yep.
And, Mal was like, if I didn't know better, I'd think we were dangerous.
Mm-hmm. They all come in with their guns and everyone Wash is standing there like
yes. They're all standing there, but Wash is hands up.
Wash has got his arms up. He's like, I didn't do that, nothing. I didn't do this. So
Like,
we got a whole lot of back and forth. He's eyeing the lineup, right? And he's like, it looks to me like illegal salvage operation. Mouse says, so does it? That's discouraging. So we got a whole lot of banter going on back and forth here. You got an Alliance officer trying to prove himself.
Yeah, it's my ship. I paid for it. All the crew are standing here, but there is someone in the infirmary that they saved from the ghost ship.
Rescued him, you might say. Heroes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, Commander nods to his soldiers to go check, and Mal tells him where the infirmary is. The soldiers enter what looks to be an empty infirmary that has been tossed, but we hear a cackling laugh.
And they turn and look in horror into a corner off camera. And meanwhile, the commander is questioning Mal about brother and sister, siblings. And Mal, smart as a whip, is playing dumb going, there's no children on board. And he's like, I didn't say children. I said siblings, adult siblings, brother and sister. And Mal's like, oh, sorry, my bad, I misunderstood. So it almost looks like they're going to get away with it, right? It almost looks like they're going to get away with it. He's like, go ahead, search the ship. There's nobody hiding. I don't care, whatever.
Yeah,
but then the people...
Commander tries to give him an out, says, these fireflies have lots of, hidden crooks and everything. Could there possibly be stowaways that you don't know about?
Tries to give him an out. He's like, yeah, I mean, I understand you wouldn't get in trouble for it. And I was like, go ahead, search. And as the audience, the first time around, I'm sitting here going, don't say that. They've got to be hiding somewhere on the ship, right? Like, what the hell is he doing? I'm so confused at this point. He clearly has a plan, but I don't know what it is. And at this point, the crew that the Alliance commander sent to the infirmary comes running back, and they're, whispering in his ear. And he immediately gets very angry, very, stiff and abrupt looking, and says, all right, haul them all back to the ship. We're continuing this conversation in official capacity. Tear this junker apart.
Important that he says junker.
Yep. And of course, everybody's rolling their eyes and being dragged out. And Jane's like, "Get off me! Don't touch me!"
And
As
Kaylee is
Kaylee's
like
being
taking
pushed out.
big offense. You know,
She's like, "Junker, junker," and Mel's like, "Simmer down, Kaylee.
Simmer down.
But did you hear what that purple belly called Serenity?" Yeah, as they're walking out, that's the thing that she's upset about, is that you're calling my ship names. Yeah.
And you see the soldiers searching the ship, and
starting in the dining area, right? You see him starting to tear everything apart. Yep.
the med team is carrying the ghost ship survivor out on a
gurney. And we still don't get a very clear shot of him. There's people in the way, as you know, you can tell it's him as they're going by. We again don't get a clear shot of what's happening. Yep. And so now we come into one of the best scenes in Firefly. This is exceptionally well done, written, exceptionally well shot, so funny, so well acted.
Edited too. I mean, the one part where it switches from Zoe to Wash.
You don't really know who's talking. You know, he's clearly questioning somebody, and you think he's questioning one person. So it jumps back and forth. So he's interviewing the entire crew. It starts with Inara, and then we get Zoe, and then we go to Wash. And it's some great lines in here, jumping back and forth. Zoe says, "We're very private people. You know, I don't feel like this is relevant. I'm not going to talk to you about my marriage." And it cuts to Wash, and he's doing it all.
Have you seen her legs?
Have you ever been with a warrior woman? Forget about it. He's got no problem talking about what made him fall in love with his wife. Yeah.
And I'm losing my place here.
And Kaylee is still indignant about the show, and she has got a whole spiel of gobbledygook about 6 Gerslers crammed right under every coolant drive. So as you strain your primary artery, she just keeps going about what a crappily designed ship this is.
And then they cut to Jane, and he's just sitting there with his arms crossed, just staring. You know, nothing.
Yep, nothing. Keeps asking questions, not a word. Yep. And then we cut back to Kaylee again. She ate junk. Now that's junk, you know. Cut to Book and cut back to Jane, still just sitting there, glaring at him. Not a word. Be kind of tapping his finger a little.
And then it cuts to Book. And he says, "Pirates with their own chaplain." You know, that's
He's questioning about the siblings that got on at Persephone, same place Book did.
Yeah, and that's an oddity. And Book says that's not the only thing that's odd out this far. Rules tend to be kind of fuzzier out here. And then he talks about, you know,
Persephone's a big place, that just because we were on the same planet doesn't mean anything. And then the captain transitions by saying, you know, what's not a big place is that ship. So if there's anybody hiding anywhere on it, we're going to find it. So they cut back to the ship that's being torn apart in the dining area, and the camera starts to pan out through the windows of the ship. I think
it's funny. The soldiers are pulling the chairs out and looking under the table.
The thing that I thought was hysterical is they're looking under the placemats.
Yeah.
Like, there's going to be something under a placemat. There's a person hiding under the placemat. Really? I'm like, okay.
So, then you said that the camera pulls out, and you see Simon and River suited up, clinging to the side of the ship.
The exterior of the ship. I still remember the first moment I saw that happen. I was like, oh my God, that's brilliant. And of course, River is looking around and is loving the stars.
Ecstatic. She's looking at everything, and big smile on her face and everything.
And can you imagine? It's probably silent for the first time. She doesn't hear the voices. She doesn't hear the screaming. And Simon looks at her and how happy she is, and then looks out at space and is like, oh my God.
He turns back around and he's terrified.
Pushes his face back to the hole. It looks like he's going to throw up. Oh, poor Simon. Poor Simon.
So we're back on the Alliance ship, and the commander
is now confronting Mal.
And, you know, where in the other interviews it was just the commander and a member of the crew. With Mal, he's got soldiers watching him too.
Yep. Comes in giving him a hard time, not answering his questions. Typical pretty crappy low-level interrogation techniques, if I'm going to be perfectly honest. Starts trying to insult him, tries to keep him from pushing him into losing his temper, and Mal's just like rolling his eyes, bored, and even comes out with the line of, I'm going to guess this is your first tour out here on the border.
And tells him, you know, if you want my advice, I'd blow up that ship. Um,
Yep.
and the commander says, it's evidence, and he is not in the habit of destroying evidence. Very straight laced, but very by the rules.
Yep. Starts trying to poke at Mal about the war, the war for unification, and the Battle of Serenity Valley. Keeps calling him Sergeant,
Yeah, makes
and
a
Mal's
point of
like,
calling him
Sergeant, no
Sergeant.
more.
The war
I'm a
is
captain
over.
now.
And that's when the commander says, he noticed that Mal was on Hera at the Battle of Serenity Valley at the end of the war. And it seems kind of strange that you would name your ship after a battle where you were on the wrong side of. And that's where Mal makes my favorite line from the episode. It may have been the losing side. Still not convinced it was the wrong one.
And then that right after that line is when the commander pounces and said, "Is that why you attacked the transport?"
Yeah.
All those innocent families, you're still fighting that same battle. You just couldn't stand the fact that these loyal Alliance citizens were trying to start a new life. The whole big tirade starts. And Mal's like, what the heck are you talking about? So we attacked them and just brought the only survivor back on our ship. You're being weird,
And the captain says, well, I'd ask him, but kind of hard for him to speak with his tongue split down the middle. Haven't seen that kind of torture since the war.
And that's when the lightning bolt hits Mal, and he's like, "Oh, dear God in heaven!
I should have
known. I should have seen this coming."
The commander says, "You and your crew are bound by law. Formal charges will be transmitted to central authority." And Mal says, "I'm not what you should be concerned with right now." He says, "If this continues on like this, there's going to be blood."
Yep. And which we see off camera in the Alliance infirmary. We see flying blood everywhere, just bits and pieces of struggling things that's happening, slashing.
Yeah, you hear they're trying compressions on the survivor, trying to get a line in him, and you see his hand reach out and pull out the scalpel.
And as the slashing is happening and the blood is happening, why isn't you can't see it is all off screen is because the camera is focusing on the monitor that is registering his heart rate, which never gets above 65, even while all of this carnage is happening.
Yeah.
Significant. So now we get back into the next Act 4, and Mal is still trying to convince this dunderhead that it's Reavers, and that it's not his crew, and that it's not a problem. They go through a really long description of what's happening and how this could possibly happen. If you want to hear it, definitely go back to the episode. Goes back and forth. He does a much better job of it, much better. Nathan does it, delivers the lines much better.
And the commander says that, you can't imagine how many times I've heard that excuse. Did you see them?
Yeah. I was like, I wouldn't be here talking to you if I did, yeah.
But the guy you took off my ship did, and he was made to stare into the darkness, darker than anything you can imagine, blacker than space. They made him watch. He probably tried to turn away. You can call him a survivor, but he's not. A man comes up against that kind of will, the only way to deal with it is to become it. He'll try to make himself look like one, cut himself, desecrate his flesh, and then he starts acting like one. Commander doesn't believe a word of anything that Mal says. I mean, he says, I think we're going to need 2 MPs to escort Sergeant Reynolds to the brig.
We jump back to Serenity, where River and Simon have made it back inside, and River's having so much fun. She says, "Let's go again." She really enjoyed it. They're trying to sneak back on the ship, and they're trying to follow Mal's directions, which is to hide in the shuttle, right? After they make it back on, after all the Alliance guys are gone. Unfortunately.
Well, and River questions, she says, coming home. No, coming back. And
she said he's coming back. Yeah.
Yes, of course they are, he tells her.
Yeah, all of the captain, everybody's coming back. Yeah, he's misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And of course, Captain Harkin and his big tirade on the ship get cut off by people coming running in to tell him about what happened in the infirmary. And he's trying to get Mal to the brig and telling everybody to go on lockdown. And Mel tells him, it's not going to matter. You're not going to find him. Like, you need me to help you. because this guy is loose and he's going back to the only place he knows right now, which is Serenity, because he can't get back to the ship he was on. Serenity is the closest thing.
And I'm the one who knows Serenity the best.
Nobody knows Serenity like me. So we're jumping back and forth now between Mal and Harkin trying to get to Serenity and Simon and River being on Serenity trying to find the space shuttle, trying to get into one of the smaller shuttles. And there's definitely like a whole tension atmosphere, and the music's building and everything as it cuts back and forth.
Yeah, because they approach the common room, and River says, "Wait, don't go." And Simon
starts getting really upset.
She assures her it's okay, and she's like, wait here.
She's whimpering. She won't go in the room. Yep.
And then, across the galley, we see a hand grab a knife off the table. And Simon's still telling River she doesn't have to be afraid, and he tries to pull her with him, and she's like, no.
She keeps holding him back, saying, do not go in there, do not go in there, do not go in there. Mal and Harkin show up at the attached docking rim for the Alliance ship. And
there's a dead soldier.
Mal, there's a dead soldier. He's like, how many more of your men are going to die before you believe me? And Harkin's like, okay, fine, you go first. And Mal's like, okay, well, his arms are still, bound behind his back. He's like, you going to help me out here? So he undoes them and then puts them in front of him and locks them all back up with the handcuffs. And Mal's like, great, I'm sure. Yeah, I've got to get the jump on him now. Yeah. I'll get the jump on him. I have the advantage here. That's what he said.
Simon is still trying to convince River. He says, I don't know how long it will be, so I want to grab some food that we can take to the shuttle. And they hear the cargo door open. And that's when Mal and the soldiers start moving cautiously through the ship. And they walk through the common room. And Mal steps out the door where he sees Simon and River hiding around the corner.
Well, first he sees the helmet sitting on the table. He sees that, and he knows, okay, this is a problem. And he's like, I'll go ahead, I'll check. And he looks around the corner, and he's like, yep, they're right there. Okay, now what do we do? And
he turns around to say something to the commander when the survivor jumps out and takes the scalpel to the nearest Alliance soldier. Blood squirting everywhere.
All over the commander's face. Yep.
And the commander falls back on the ground, and the survivor jumps on him.
The Reaver's jumping on him. Yep, and is going after him, and he's trying to fight him off.
And then Mal comes around, and with his hands still handcuffed,
leaps on the guy's back. Yeah.
Yeah, doing a Leia the Hutt Slayer move.
Yes. Yes, with a much shorter chain. Doesn't have the big loop. Much smaller
neck, too. And manages strangling back and snaps his neck.
Yes. Falls over backwards.
And you see the commander just looking up kind of in shock.
The utter shock. And of course, at this point, we actually do get a very brief close-up of the survivor's face. And it has already been grossly disfigured with hooks and metal. And he's already started to brutally disfigure his face, which is what was right up there in the commander's. And of course, he's making all kinds of horrible noises because he can't talk or yell or anything else. So, Commander Harkin got a very real look at what Reavers are, and very nearly claimed his life.
So the next thing we see is the Serenity leaving the Alliance cruiser.
And everybody, we're on the bridge. Yep.
Jane's like, you save his life, he still takes the Gorn cargo.
Hudan. Yep, calls him a Hudan. Yep.
And Mal says he had to, couldn't let us profit, wouldn't be civilized. And then you see the Alliance blow up the ghost ship as Serenity leaves them behind.
And we hear the string music playing in the background. And honestly, I think this is the scene that every time I watch this episode, I get to the end of it and I'm like, I hate this episode. I hate this episode. I am so mad that the crew doesn't even get a tiny, enough cargo to buy gas. I am just raging pissed. I hate the end of this episode. I mean, it's good, and it's a very accurate depiction of what these poor people have to deal with out there in the black. I get it, but oh my god, it makes me mad. I was like, I think I'd go back and stab that guy just on general principle. What the crap? I was so mad.
Yes, Dave, I do know about the Han and Carbonite.
We talked about that.
It's going to be in some later episodes, and we'll be sure to point them out once we reach those episodes.
Yep, as soon as we get to them. Well, hello there.
Hi, Anakin.
Thank you for joining us. 1974. Yeah, it's a good year.
1974. Ah,
And so that's wheeling away with the single string playing in the background. We see that not in the habit of destroying evidence, but boy, he sure blew that ship up, didn't he?
yeah. Because he now believes and knows what reavers are.
Well, yeah, privately. However, I bet you professionally he still continues to deride that they don't exist, right?
All right. So that was
We
Bushwhacked.
made it. We made it. Technical hiccups and all. Yay.
Oh, yes. I'll figure it out someday.
It's not just you. It's all of us. We have all kinds of issues over here. Day in and day out. We're just like the crew of Serenity. Well, we do have a couple more things left this week for the VCN.
Yeah.
On our watch along, we have yet another installment of the Celebrating Autographs. We have got so many people showing up at Rebel Scum Con the first weekend in August that they are doing another show to take us through and show all of the amazing people that you could have a chance to meet and get a photo or autograph with. That is Saturday, July 18th at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific.
Yeah, Dave and Mark will have all the information you need.
All the details.
What kind of pins to use, everything, protectors, how to transport if you're bringing like Funkos or helmets to be
all the
signed.
details.
Yeah,
everything you need to know to have a successful con.
Mm-hmm. And this Sunday, the Jedi Archives are going to be talking about Star Wars Shadow of Maul #4, Blood Gamble. Mike was talking about this before. It is the penultimate issue of this Shadow Maul series. So if you're into comics, I really advise you to give them a listen so you can find out what's going on.
And even if you're not, check it out. It might pique your interest. That is at 1 p.m. Pacific, or 1 p.m. Eastern, excuse me. And of course, we would be remiss if we did not mention our Boonta Eve special edition, Texas 2 Electric Boogaloo, on Friday, August 7th. I heard there were less than 100 tickets left available for this at the Rebel Patio Grill.
VIP is already sold out, but there are still some tickets left for the regular admission. Got a great lineup of guests. I mean, we've got four Leias. That's a big one right there.
Big deal. Yes. And of course, Aunt Beru, Bonnie Priesi.
Yeah. Last night, we had Paul Darnell on, who plays Mark in Ahsoka. And how we missed this last night, but yesterday was Paul's birthday. So happy birthday.
No way. Oh, wow. That's great. He spent it with us. And of course, opportunity to see the galaxy in a whole new way with NH Lachik Associates. They are one of our premier official event sponsors of our Boonta Eve Texas 2 celebration. Along
with Shinobi IT services. We don't repair lightsabers, but we do keep your systems from going to the dark side.
And of course, Toink for the collector in all of us, and you can use our special VCN10 code to save 10% off any of your purchases on their website.
And also, if you're attending Rebel Scum Con, there's going to be some prizes from the virtual Cantina booth, and they have been provided by Toink.
Fantastic. And thank you all so much to all of our wonderful sponsors. You can see a large variety for every interest available. We could not make these events happen without you.
Okay. So we have Mark.
So got to tune in and see what poor props Mark is making Dave bring this year. I love it. So much to talk about. Looking forward to it. Thank you all for joining us this evening with our walkthrough of Bushwhacked.
Yeah, we'll be back in 2 weeks where we'll talk about Shindig.
And we might have a guest host if he doesn't get too busy to join us.
Yeah, all those trips out to Fire Island he likes to make.
Lots of work trips too to all the conventions everywhere.
Yes. So we hope you join us next time. And until then, stay shiny.
We'll see you out in the black.